Hey everyone, it's Friday morning, January 9th, and welcome back to Capital Markets Quickie. I'm your host, Endrit Sella, here to break down yesterday's market action in just 2 minutes. Quick note before we dive in. Today's episode is brought to you by AMF Capital Asset Management Frankfurt. Learn more about our funds and strategies at amf-capital.de. All right, let's get started. U.S. stocks finished mixed on Thursday as investors rotated out of big tech, reacted to fresh labor market data, and digested another round of headlines from President Trump, this time touching defense spending and Venezuela. The tech-heavy Nasdaq composite slipped about 0.4%, marking its first loss of the week. Megacap names led the pullback. The Standard & Poor's 500 was basically flat after stepping back from record highs, while the Dow Jones Industrial Average managed to gain around 0.5% after a pretty choppy session. Defense stocks, meanwhile, staged a sharp rebound. That came after President Trump said he wants to increase U.S. military spending by 50%, pushing the annual defense budget toward roughly $1.5 trillion. Just a day earlier, those same stocks had been under pressure after Trump threatened to block buybacks and dividend payments if defense companies failed to invest more in production capacity. Some of the biggest names in the sector jumped as much as 8% at one point before giving back part of those gains. Beyond stocks, investors stayed cautious as more labor market signals rolled in. New data from Challenger, Gray, and Christmas suggested the jobs market showed a late-year improvement, with planned layoffs in December falling to their lowest level of 2025. Still, sentiment remains fragile. Earlier this week, markets also absorbed updates on private payrolls and another government report pointing to weak hiring momentum. All of that sets the stage for the December jobs report, which is due out today and could be critical for the Federal Reserve's next policy steps. Geopolitics also stayed front and center. President Trump reiterated aggressive rhetoric around Venezuela, suggesting the U.S. could oversee the country and control its oil revenue for years. Energy strategy tied to Venezuela, and even Greenland, continues to sit high on investors' watch lists. And finally, markets are also watching Washington closely, with a potential Supreme Court opinion today on the legality of tariffs imposed under Trump, possibly the first legal response to those measures. All right, that wraps up today's Capital Markets Quickie. Join me again tomorrow morning for more market updates. See you then.